Okay, so Man on the Inside season 2 is out, and I have some thoughts. So, a quick summary if you don't know what that is. Man on the Inside is the newest show from writer/producer Michael Schur, creator of Parks and Rec, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and The Good Place, with the first season releasing on Netflix in 2024. It just released its second season on November 21st of 2025 to pretty positive reception from audiences and critics. While the show hasn't blown me away like Brooklyn Nine-Nine or The Good Place, I do want to take some time to talk about it. I will be keeping this mostly spoiler free because I really want anyone who likes the shows I just mentioned to give this a try. I obviously have to talk a little about the character arcs, but I'll keep the revelations and twists out of the discussion. And quick note, if you enjoyed this video or any others I've made, please take the time to like or subscribe and leave a comment, even if you disagree with me. Actually, especially if you disagree with me. I actually really like talking to you guys in the comments. Full disclaimer, season 1 can be a little hard to watch at times, especially if you've had personal experience with something like Alzheimer's or dementia. Like The Good Place, it's a pretty good comedy that doesn't shy away from real human struggles and experiences. So even though it never gets too dark, it might make you cry. So Man on the Inside is about a retired engineering professor and widower named Charles, who's been in a bit of an emotional rut after his wife passed of Alzheimer's and spends his days reading in his San Francisco home, mailing newspaper articles to his only child, Emily, played by Mary Elizabeth Ellis, who is concerned for his mental well being. After she encourages him to try joining a club or find a new hobby that would allow him to socialize, he ends up seeing an ad in the paper for a job at a PI office that is specifically requesting a senior citizen. This is because the private investigator, Julie, played by Lila Rich Creek Estrada, needs someone who can go undercover at a retirement community called Pacific View to investigate a case of theft. This is the general premise/plot of the show, but it doesn't stop there. While there is a decent amount of investigating and mystery solving going on, a good chunk of season 1 is focused on the character arcs of Charles and the residents of the community. The show explores the struggles that come with age, not just in regards to deteriorating health or general lack of energy, but the fear and dread that comes with accepting one's own mortality. Charles meets other people who have also lost spouses and finds comfort and solidarity in that grief. And they help show him how to move forward. And as the investigation is reaching its conclusion, he finally finds the courage to talk to Emily about their shared grief and reinforce their bond. And this perspective is something that has carried over into season 2 as well. The series takes the time to show that life doesn't end at 65. Usually, when you get a character over that age in media, they're just there as a mentor figure or something similar. They rarely get their own arcs, let alone get a chance to explore something like a romantic subplot. But Man on the Inside has a mostly elderly cast that gets to try new hobbies, careers, and even fall in love. And they get to make mistakes. They don't always handle each situation perfectly, and sometimes even have to get advice from their own kids. Charles and the residents of Pacific View are also not the only ones who get their time to shine in season 1. The writers explore the day to day challenges that people working in elder care have to deal with. Things like nonsense red tape, aggressive residents, and the death of people they've known and treated for years. Man on the Inside does paint retirement home workers in a more positive light than I would have expected, considering the troubling prevalence of elder abuse and neglect that exists in nursing homes. But I also appreciate that they show how exhausting it can be to work in this field as someone who actually cares about their work. I'll admit to a bias here because I do work in healthcare in a non licensed admin capacity. And while I truly admit the US healthcare system is flawed as fuck and absolutely needs reform, and there are providers and nurses who should not be working in healthcare, I understand the struggles that Dee Dee, Pacific View's head manager, has to deal with. Corporate bureaucracy makes it almost impossible for her to do her job properly, and boy, do I find that relatable. I see providers and nurses be held back from being able to provide proper care due to bullshit red tape almost daily. It fucking sucks to want to help people, but being told you have to jump through a million hoops to do so by people who haven't worked directly with patients in over a decade, if they ever did. So while the criticism Man on the Inside has of the retirement community industry does feel a bit shallow, considering they don't really touch on how these issues can lead to abuse and neglect, I do like that they show how hard it can be to be a well meaning, caring person working on the ground in that industry, because the system is entirely built against them and their residents. And covering the issues with elder abuse would have been way too fing dark for a show with this tone, so it's probably best they didn't. Comedies can have darker themes, yes, but I don't think it would have worked for this show. And I don't know if it's something that Michael Shore wants or is even able to tackle. But if you've seen any of his other shows, you'll be familiar with this kind of social commentary. It's not the first time a show he's made has taken a dig at American culture through humor.
Plus, with Pawnee's history, it's very difficult to not be offensive.
This is a map of all the atrocities the Pawnee settlers inflicted upon the Wamapoke Indians. The atrocities are in blue.
Hello, I'm Raymond Holt.
Are you here to turn yourself in?
Well, not exactly Christopher Columbus.
Fun fact, Columbus is in the bad place because of all the slave trade and genocide.
This type of criticism is used in season 2 as well, this time set in a fictional college called Wheeler University, where Charles and Julie are hired to assist with a case of blackmail. Specifically against the college's president, Jack Barringer, played by Max Greenfield, who is trying to secure a large donation from a controversial alumni billionaire, Brad Vinnick, played by Gary Cole. Charles goes undercover as a visiting lecturer, excited at the opportunity to do another long-term investigation after months of repetitive PI work. And it doesn't take long for the social commentary to kick in. The staff at Wheeler College are incredibly frustrated by the fact that their job security is hinged upon a self-important finance bro who just happened to have graduated from their school, and will only give them the financial support they need to keep the school afloat if the college boosts his ego just enough for him to care. There are other elements of the U.S. higher education system that the show criticizes, such as exuberant tuition cost, mishandling of finances, apathy towards students' well-being, and a general system of treating the college like a business. And like with season 1, the show presents the issues as a side effect of the modern education system, not the result of a bunch of bad professors and teachers. Again, I'll admit to a bias here because I have not had the best experience with the U.S. education system, both with public schools and two-year technical colleges. I haven't attended full university yet. Tuition is expensive. But those problems are not the fault of the faculty who just want to use their passion for a subject to provide an education for future generations. And that issue is presented throughout season 2. You see underpaid, overworked professors contrasted with apathetic, overpaid administrators, and burnt out students trying to figure out how to finish a 4-year degree that's more expensive than some 2-bedroom houses. Like Pacific View being an idealized community home, Wheeler College is the kind of university that you wish existed in real life, but it's being threatened by a system that favors profit over education, and a society that only places value in financial success, not cultural achievements. Season 2 also continues with the exploration of old age and how that affects your decisions and lifestyle. Charles meets a lot of new people that help him continue to live his life and try new things. Even if some of those friendships are fleeting, he takes the joy in companionship where he can. Season 2 is also where the show starts to get more time to develop other characters. You see a lot of people return from season 1, such as Dee Dee, who it seems may be coming back for season 3 as well. Emily gets more time and has a chance to make some major changes for herself. Julie has a lot more time to shine. We get to learn about her backstory and why she became a PI, and while I do think some of her moments were a bit rushed and could have used some restructuring, I still really like her arc for this season overall, even if I think it could have gotten stretched out to season 3. But really, if I had to describe the show in one word, it would be charming. The humor is not as chaotic as Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and while it does really remind me of The Good Place in terms of tone, it really does have its own wit and style in how it tells its jokes. It can get a little cartoonish at times, particularly when it comes to the social commentary characters, but not much more than what you would typically see in a Michael Schur show. Ted Danson is such a great lead. I loved watching him be an overzealous but passionate detective. I honestly don't think anyone else could have pulled off this role. One thing I did notice that wasn't an issue for season 1 was the pacing. Season 2 is trying to spend more time with the rest of the cast, and that's great, but they probably should have made the season a little longer to allow time for that. Or have some of the arcs take more than one season. I mentioned this issue with Julie, but honestly, some of the new characters could have used a little more time as well. Netflix probably would not have agreed to make the season longer or let them turn the Wheeler investigation into a 2-season arc, so I get why it was written this way, but it's still a bummer. I like these characters, I just kinda wish they got more time. Like some other shows I've talked about, it seems like 8-episode seasons for streaming exclusive shows is slowly becoming the new standard, and I'm not sure that's a great idea, as Arcane Season 2 also had this problem. 8 episodes can work in faster-paced action shows that don't need a lot of filler, like Castlevania, but even that show adjusted its episode count each season to make room for the ever-expanding plot and character roster. And I kind of wish Man on the Inside got the same treatment. Season 2 could have easily been 10, even 12 episodes with everything that happened in it. But overall, I do think the show is worth a watch, and I am excited for Season 3. So if you liked The Good Place or any other Michael Schur show, I highly recommend giving this a try. I'm Nora, and thank you for watching.